Knock, knock. The sound echoed through the grand doorway of a sprawling mansion. Inside, Emma sat sipping tea, her face serene. She glanced at her niece Susie and smiled. Who could it be this time? Another one of my children pretending to care now that fortune has smiled upon me. It was a quiet evening when Emma, a frail elderly woman, sat in the dimly lit room of the nursing home, staring out of the window at the falling rain. The sound of thunder echoed in the distance, but Emma didn't flinch. Her thoughts were far away, with the children she had raised on her own after the sudden death of her husband, James. That same evening, the nursing home administrator knocked on her door. "Mrs. Emma," she began hesitantly, holding an envelope. "A letter arrived for you today from a law firm." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't recall any dealings with a law firm. Slowly, she opened the envelope, her hands trembling. The contents would change her life forever. Inside, the letter detailed that a man named Mr. Charles Graham, her long-lost paternal uncle, had passed away. He had no wife or children, and as his closest living relative, Emma was the sole heir to his vast fortune. Money, cars, and properties beyond what she could have imagined. Tears welled up in her eyes, but they weren't tears of joy. She thought about her 3 children, David, Sarah, and Michael, who had abandoned her here, leaving her to a life of loneliness. Years ago, Emma had been a vibrant young mother, full of hope and determination. When her husband died suddenly from a heart attack, leaving her with 3 children under the age of 10, the future looked bleak. But Emma was not one to give up. She took on multiple jobs, cleaning houses during the day and sewing clothes late into the night, to ensure her children had food, clothes, and an education. She toiled day and night to ensure her children had everything they needed. She paid their school fees, cooked their meals, and whispered words of encouragement during their toughest moments. David, the eldest, had always been the quiet and studious one. Sarah, her only daughter, was headstrong and ambitious. Michael, the youngest, was full of charm and dreams. Emma sacrificed everything to give them a good life. She sold the family home to pay for David's university tuition. She went without new clothes for years so Sarah could afford books for her law degree. And she endured sleepless nights, working overtime, to help Michael launch his tech career. But as the years went by, things began to change. The children became distant. Visits grew infrequent, phone calls rare. Emma chalked it up to their busy lives, but the truth was more painful. Her children saw her as a burden. When Emma turned 70, her health began to decline. Her legs ached, her eyesight weakened, and daily tasks became difficult. One by one, her children suggested it was time for her to move into a nursing home. "It's for your safety, Mom," David had said, avoiding her gaze. Sarah had chimed in, "You'll get proper care there, and we can visit whenever we want." Michael, ever the smooth talker, added, "You deserve a break, Mom. This place will take good care of you." Emma had reluctantly agreed, believing their words. But weeks turned into months, and her children never came. The bustling lives she had worked so hard to provide for them now seemed more important than their bond as a family. The only person who visited Emma was Susie, her niece. Susie was the daughter of Emma's younger sister, who had tragically passed away in a car accident years ago. Emma had taken Susie in, raising her like her own. Susie, now a successful nurse, never forgot the love and kindness Emma had shown her. Every weekend, Susie would bring home-cooked meals, flowers, and a smile to Emma's face. "Aunt Emma, you're the only family I have left," she would say. And family means everything. Emma cherished these visits, but deep down, her heart ached for her own children. With the news of her unexpected inheritance, Emma's mind raced. She didn't care much for the wealth. Money and luxury couldn't fill the void in her heart. But perhaps, just perhaps, this could be a way to bring her family back together. Susie, who had always been Emma's confidant, was the first to hear about the inheritance. "Aunt Emma, this is incredible," she exclaimed, her face lighting up with excitement. "But why didn't you tell your children?" Emma sighed, her wrinkled hands clasped together. "Do you think they'd care, Susie? They left me here, alone. What would money mean to them, except another reason to call me?" Susie didn't respond immediately. She had seen firsthand how Emma's children had treated her, but she also knew how much Emma missed them. Maybe this is a chance to rebuild those bridges, Aunt Emma, she said gently. Emma hesitated. Could money really mend the broken ties between her and her children? Or would it only reveal their true intentions? The next morning, Emma and Susie visited the law firm to finalize the paperwork. The lawyer, Mr. Carter, was a kind man with a warm smile. Mrs. Emma, your uncle was a very private man, he explained as he handed her a stack of documents. But he cared deeply for family. His wish was for this fortune to bring you happiness. Emma's eyes misted as she signed the papers. Her uncle's generosity felt like a bittersweet blessing. Among the inheritance were 2 luxurious homes, 3 cars, and a sum of money so large it felt unreal. Susie encouraged Emma to move into one of the homes. This place isn't where you belong, Aunt Emma, she said firmly, glancing around the nursing home's cramped quarters. You deserve better. Emma agreed. A week later, she moved into her new home, a sprawling estate with lovely gardens and a view of the mountains. For the first time in years, Emma felt a sense of peace. News of Emma's newfound wealth spread like wildfire, thanks to the nursing home staff who couldn't keep the story to themselves. It wasn't long before David, Sarah, and Michael heard about their mother's inheritance. David was the first to call. Mom, I heard you moved out of the nursing home. Why didn't you tell us? He asked, his voice laced with feigned concern. Emma recognized the tone. It wasn't love or worry, it was curiosity, tinged with greed. I didn't think you'd be interested, David, she replied calmly. Next came Sarah. Mom, is it true about the inheritance? She asked bluntly. You should have called us. We could have helped you manage everything. Michael, as usual, was the most charming. Mom, I'm so happy for you. We need to celebrate. Let's meet up soon. Emma listened to their words but said little. She wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. Susie was furious when she heard how Emma's children had suddenly reappeared. They're only coming back because of the money, she fumed. Aunt Emma, you can't let them manipulate you. But Emma, ever the patient mother, wanted to believe there was still good in her children. Let's invite them over, she said softly. I want to see if they've truly changed. The invitations were sent, and a week later, David, Sarah, and Michael arrived at Emma's new home. They were all smiles, showering her with compliments. You look great, Mom. This house is amazing. We've missed you so much. Emma watched them carefully. For the first time, she saw through their words. It wasn't love that brought them back, it was greed. After the visit, Emma sat down with Susie to talk. They haven't changed, have they? Emma asked, her voice trembling. Susie hesitated but finally said, Aunt Emma, they only care about what they can get from you. But you don't owe them anything. Remember that. Emma nodded, her heart heavy. She had spent her life giving everything to her children, but now she realized she needed to protect herself. Emma made a difficult choice. She decided to keep the inheritance in a trust, managed by Susie, to ensure it would be used wisely. She informed her children of her decision, and their reactions were telling. David stormed out, furious. Sarah accused Emma of being unfair. Michael tried to sweet-talk her, but Emma stood firm. I love you all, she said quietly. But this time, I'm choosing to love myself too. David's anger was the loudest of the siblings. He called Sarah and Michael the same evening to vent his frustrations. Can you believe this? Mom's giving everything to Susie. What right does she have to handle our inheritance? Sarah, equally bitter, agreed. She's been manipulated by that girl. Susie's always been her favorite. This isn't fair. Michael, ever the smooth talker, suggested a different approach. Let's not fight her head-on. We need to be strategic. If we push too hard, she'll cut us off completely. Let's stay close and try to win her trust back. The siblings reluctantly agreed, but their motives remained the same. They wanted the money, not their mother's love. Emma, meanwhile, was adjusting to her new life. She and Susie worked together to settle into the luxurious home. The house was a sprawling mansion with high ceilings, intricate carvings on the walls, and a garden filled with flowers Emma had only dreamed of seeing. For the first time in years, Emma felt alive. She and Susie spent their mornings walking through the gardens, their afternoons exploring recipes in the spacious kitchen, and their evenings watching old movies in the cozy living room. "Do you think they'll ever understand what they've done, Susie?" Emma asked one evening. Susie placed a comforting hand on Emma's. "Maybe they will, Aunt Emma. But even if they don't, you've given them more chances than most would. It's time for you to live your life." The siblings stay close. Plan began with frequent calls and visits. David started sending Emma gifts, flowers, chocolates, even a painting he thought she might like. Sarah volunteered to run errands for Emma, despite never following through. Michael played the charm card, calling Emma almost daily to check on her. Emma saw through their efforts but played along. She knew their sudden change of heart wasn't genuine, but she wanted to give them a chance to prove her wrong. Susie, however, was less forgiving. "They're using you, Aunt Emma. They'll keep pretending until they get what they want." Emma sighed. "Maybe so, but I still hope they'll change." One day, Emma invited Mr. Carter, her lawyer, for tea. She wanted his advice on how to handle the inheritance and protect herself from potential manipulation. "Mrs. Emma," he began, "you've been through so much. You have every right to distribute your wealth as you see fit. But I'd advise setting up a will and clearly outlining your wishes. That way, there's no confusion or conflict later." Emma nodded, feeling a sense of relief. She decided to include her children in the will, but on her own terms. She allocated a portion of her inheritance to charity, left some for Susie, and ensured her children wouldn't be left empty-handed, but only if they demonstrated genuine change. As the days passed, Emma noticed something special about Susie. Despite her frustration with Emma's children, Susie remained kind and patient. She never complained about helping Emma, and she always put Emma's needs before her own. One afternoon, while sorting through old family photos, Emma turned to Susie. "You've been like a daughter to me, Susie. I want you to know how much I appreciate you." Susie's eyes filled with tears. "You've always been there for me, Aunt Emma. Taking care of you is the least I can do." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, word of Emma's fortune spread further. Distant relatives began reaching out, claiming they wanted to reconnect. Neighbors who had ignored Emma for years suddenly showed up with baked goods and offers to help around the house. Susie found it amusing. "It's like you've become a celebrity, Aunt Emma." Emma shook her head. "People are drawn to wealth, not the person behind it. But it's up to us to stay true to ourselves." Sarah's attempts to ingratiate herself with Emma took a turn when she brought up the inheritance during a visit. "Mom, you know we could help you manage everything. It's a lot for one person, especially someone your age," she said, her tone sweet but insincere. Emma looked at her calmly. "Thank you for the offer, Sarah. But Susie and I have it under control." Sarah's face fell. "I just think we deserve to be more involved. After all, we're your children." Emma's patience wore thin. "You're my children, yes. But where were you when I needed you most?" Sarah had no answer. Michael decided to take a more direct approach. Unlike Sarah, he avoided mentioning the inheritance outright. Instead, he focused on rekindling a bond with his mother. "Mom," he said one day over the phone, "I've been thinking about the times you used to make those pancakes on Sunday mornings. Do you still remember the recipe? Maybe we could make them together sometime." Emma chuckled, warmed by the memory. "Of course, I remember. You always insisted on extra syrup." Michael visited the next weekend, and they spent the morning making pancakes. Emma enjoyed his company, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite genuine. As Michael cleared the table, he casually asked, "Have you thought about what to do with all the property Uncle James left you? It must be overwhelming to manage it all." Emma's smile faded. "Michael, let's not ruin a good day by talking about money. If you're here for me, let's keep it that way." Michael apologized, but Emma's guard went back up. Susie noticed the increased visits and calls from Emma's children, and it left her uneasy. One evening, she expressed her concerns. "Aunt Emma, I don't trust them. They've ignored you for years, and now they're suddenly trying to act like the perfect children." Emma nodded. "I see it too, Susie. But they're still my children. Maybe this is their way of trying to make amends." Susie hesitated but didn't argue further. Deep down, she wished Emma would stand firmer against their insincerity. David, less subtle than his siblings, decided to confront Emma directly. "Mom, I don't understand why you're treating us like strangers. We're your children. We deserve to have a say in what happens with the inheritance." Emma looked at him, her expression calm but stern. "David, let me ask you something. When was the last time you visited me before all this happened?" David fumbled for an answer. "I've been busy, work, family, you know how it is." Emma shook her head. "You weren't too busy to drop me off at the nursing home and forget I existed. Now you want to talk about what you deserve?" David left the house frustrated, but Emma remained firm. One day, while sorting through papers left behind by her late uncle, Emma found a letter addressed to her. She opened it with trembling hands. The letter read, "Dear Emma, if you're reading this, it means I've passed on, and my fortune is now yours. I chose you because I've watched you from afar over the years. You've endured so much, yet you've never lost your kindness or strength. Use this inheritance to bring happiness into your life, but also to help those who truly value you." Tears streamed down Emma's face as she read the words. She felt a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper appreciation for Susie's loyalty. The three siblings held a private meeting to discuss their next move. "Mom's not budging," David complained. "She's too wrapped up in Susie to see reason." Michael suggested a softer approach. "We need to work together, not against her. Maybe we can convince her we're all a family again." Sarah, however, was losing patience. "We don't have time to play nice. If she signs everything over to Susie, we're finished." The tension between them grew, but they agreed to stay united for now. Emma, inspired by her uncle's letter, decided to make a difference in her community. She donated to local schools, funded a scholarship program, and supported an elderly care center. "Your uncle wanted you to use this money for good," Susie said, smiling as they handed over a check to one of the schools. Emma nodded. "And it feels good to finally make a difference." Word of Emma's philanthropy spread, and she became a beloved figure in the community. Desperate, the siblings staged a surprise visit, all arriving at Emma's home together. "Mom," Michael began, "we just want to say we're sorry for how we've treated you. We've been selfish, and we want to make things right." Emma looked at them, her expression unreadable. "Do you mean that? Or is this about the inheritance?" David spoke up. "We mean it, Mom. We've realized how wrong we were." Emma sighed. "Time will tell if you're sincere. But understand this, I won't let anyone take advantage of me again." Over the following weeks, Emma saw small but genuine changes in her children. David started calling regularly, Sarah helped with errands, and Michael visited every weekend. Susie remained skeptical but chose to focus on supporting Emma. "Even if they're changing, Aunt Emma, you know I'll always be here for you." Emma smiled, grateful for Susie's unwavering love. As Emma observed her children's actions, she decided it was time to set boundaries. She invited them over for a family dinner, a rare occasion in recent years. During the meal, Emma cleared her throat. "I've been watching your efforts to reconnect, and while I appreciate the change, I want to be clear about a few things." The siblings exchanged nervous glances, sensing something serious was about to unfold. Emma continued, "If you want to be part of my life, it won't be on your terms. You'll show respect, not just to me but to Susie. She's been my family when you weren't, and I won't tolerate any attempts to undermine her." Michael nodded eagerly. "Of course, Mom. We just want to make things right." Emma's sharp gaze softened slightly. "Good. Then let's take it one day at a time." Despite Emma's confidence, Susie couldn't shake her unease about the siblings' intentions. She kept a close eye on them, especially Sarah, who seemed particularly restless during visits. One afternoon, Susie caught Sarah snooping through Emma's documents in the study. "What are you doing?" Susie asked, her voice low but firm. Sarah jumped, clutching a stack of papers. "I was just helping Mom organize her things. She asked me to." Susie didn't believe her but chose not to escalate. "If Mom needs help, she'll ask. Leave her things alone." Sarah reluctantly left, but the encounter only deepened Susie's distrust. Emma was invited to a community gala in her honor, recognizing her contributions to local projects. She was excited but nervous, as it was her first public appearance since her sudden change in fortune. "Are you sure you want to go?" Susie asked. You know the attention might bring out more people looking to take advantage. Emma smiled. Not everyone is out to take Susie. Some genuinely appreciate what I'm trying to do. Besides, it's important to show gratitude. The gala was a resounding success, with Emma receiving heartfelt thanks from educators, parents, and community leaders. Her children attended as well, visibly impressed by the admiration their mother commanded. Sarah's frustration boiled over after the gala. She confronted Susie in the kitchen late at night. "You think you're so special, don't you? Acting like you're more of a daughter to her than we are." Susie remained calm. "I don't act like anything, Sarah. I just care about Aunt Emma, and she knows it." Sarah's voice rose. "You're trying to cut us out of her life, and her will." Emma entered the kitchen, her expression stern. "What's going on here?" Sarah stammered but quickly left the room. Emma turned to Susie. "Thank you for staying calm. Don't let her get to you." David began to genuinely reflect on his behavior. During one visit, he apologized to Emma for the years of neglect. "Mom, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know I regret everything. I was selfish and ungrateful." Emma took his hand. "Acknowledging your mistakes is a big step, David. I just want you to be the kind of person you can be proud of." David nodded, feeling a weight lift from his chest. At a family gathering, Emma publicly acknowledged Susie's loyalty. "I want everyone here to know how much Susie means to me. She's been my rock through everything, and I don't know what I'd do without her." The siblings applauded, but their smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. Susie, though, was genuinely touched. "Thank you, Aunt Emma. I just did what anyone who loves you would do." One day, Emma's lawyer visited to discuss her estate plans. "I want to ensure everything is in order," Emma said. "I need to protect my assets and make sure they go where they'll do the most good." The lawyer nodded. "We can establish trusts and ensure that your wishes are carried out. Are you ready to finalize everything?" Emma hesitated. "Not yet. I want to give my children a chance to prove themselves." Sarah, undeterred by previous failures, decided to hire a private investigator to dig into Susie's background, hoping to find something incriminating. "She's too perfect," Sarah muttered. "No one's that clean." But the investigator's report came back empty, leaving Sarah more frustrated than ever. Michael began volunteering at one of the schools Emma supported. Initially, it was to impress his mother, but he soon found himself genuinely enjoying the work. "You've changed," Emma remarked one evening. Michael smiled. "Maybe I'm starting to see what really matters." Emma surprised Susie with a heartfelt gesture. "I want you to have this," Emma said, handing her the keys to a small cottage on one of the properties. Susie was overwhelmed. "Aunt Emma, I don't need this. I'm happy with what I have." Emma insisted. "You've given me so much, Susie. Let me do this for you." One sunny morning, Emma received an unmarked envelope in the mail. Inside was a handwritten letter detailing plans Sarah and Michael had made to manipulate her. "They're using you, Emma. Don't let them fool you," the letter warned. Emma was unsettled but decided not to confront them immediately. Instead, she shared the letter with Susie. "Someone's trying to warn me," Emma said. "But who?" Susie frowned. "It could be anyone. Your kindness has touched so many, but it's also made others jealous of your children's behavior. Let's be careful." Sarah's patience finally snapped when she realized her manipulations weren't yielding results. She lashed out during another family gathering. "You're playing favorites, Mom," Sarah accused. "You've given everything to Susie while we, your real children, get nothing." Emma stood up calmly. "Sarah, I've given you everything you ever needed: education, love, opportunities. What you lack now isn't my doing, it's your choices." The room fell silent, and Sarah stormed out. David, meanwhile, took a different approach. He asked Emma to meet him privately one afternoon. "I've been selfish, Mom," he admitted. "I see now how much you've done for us, and I don't blame you for being disappointed. But I want to change, for real this time." Emma's eyes softened. "David, I've always believed you have a good heart. Show me through your actions, not just your words." David promised to do better, and for once, Emma felt hopeful. Emma, inspired by her newfound wealth and stability, decided to start a foundation in her husband's memory. It'll focus on supporting single mothers, Emma explained to Susie. No one should feel as alone as I did. Susie helped Emma plan the foundation's launch, while David and Michael offered their assistance. Even Sarah begrudgingly participated, though her motives were unclear. The mystery of the letter lingered until Emma received another note, this time revealing the writer's identity, a nurse from the old age home. I couldn't stand by and watch your children take advantage of you, the letter read. Emma visited the nurse to thank her. Your kindness means so much to me, Emma said. I'll never forget this. The nurse smiled. You deserve better, Mrs. Andrews. I'm glad you found happiness. Susie had an idea to expand Emma's foundation by creating mentorship programs for young women. It's not just about financial support, Susie said. It's about giving them role models. Emma loved the idea and encouraged Susie to take the lead. You've always had a gift for helping others, Emma said. Let's make this happen together. Michael's involvement in the foundation became more consistent. He even started using his connections to secure sponsorships and partnerships. I want to make you proud, Mom, Michael said one evening. Emma smiled. You're starting to, Michael. Keep it up. Sarah, feeling left out, began to reflect on her actions. She visited Emma late one night, tears streaming down her face. I've been horrible to you, Mom, Sarah admitted. I let my jealousy and greed take over. Emma hugged her tightly. It's never too late to change, Sarah. But you have to mean it. The foundation's launch was a grand affair, with the entire family present. Emma gave a heartfelt speech, crediting Susie for much of the work. She's been my greatest blessing, Emma said, her voice breaking with emotion. The audience applauded, and for the first time in years, the family seemed united. Emma called her children together for a candid conversation. I've decided how I want my estate managed, Emma said. I hope you'll understand my decisions. The siblings listened as Emma explained her plans, which included equal shares for her children but with certain conditions tied to their actions. Susie was also given a significant role in managing the foundation. The siblings slowly began to rebuild their relationship with Emma and each other. They started spending more time together, not out of obligation but genuine care. David organized a family picnic, and for the first time in years, they laughed and reminisced like old times. Susie took on her new responsibilities with grace and determination. The foundation thrived under her leadership, and Emma couldn't have been prouder. You're not just my niece, Susie, Emma said. You're my legacy. Sarah surprised everyone by using her skills as a designer to create a line of products for the foundation, with proceeds going to single mothers. I want to contribute in a meaningful way, Sarah said. Emma embraced her. This is the Sarah I've always believed in. Michael's dedication to the foundation deepened, and he became a mentor to young boys in the community. I finally feel like I'm making a difference, Michael said to Emma. You are, Emma replied. And I couldn't be prouder. Years later, the family gathered for Emma's 80th birthday. The foundation was thriving, and the siblings had transformed into compassionate, responsible adults. Emma looked around at her children, Susie, and the many lives they had touched. I couldn't have asked for a better ending to my story, Emma said with tears in her eyes. But Susie smiled. This isn't the end, Aunt Emma. It's just the beginning of your legacy. Emma nodded, her heart full. For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace. Morals of the story. Never forget the sacrifices of those who raised you. Gratitude matters. Be grateful. Do not take anyone or anything for granted. Wealth and status mean nothing without love and family who truly care for you. Life has a way of rewarding kindness and exposing greed. It's never too late to change and seek redemption. True blessings come when you value relationships over material gains. What would you do if you were Emma? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to hear more inspiring African tales. Know someone who would love this story? Please share it with them today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.